What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of The Lead Houston, where it's all Houston all the time. The Houston Texans continued to add to the defense as we saw just a few days ago. They have added linebacker formerly from the Indianapolis Colts, E.J. Speed. We all know E.J. Speed talking some trash to C.J. Stroud before the upcoming season last year. And as we all know, it went both ways. CJ and EJ both talking trash to each other. To throw in some Zaire Franklin in there as well, and In the Trenches podcast. And, we ultimately got our lick back, and not just once, but twice, as the Houston Texans, I believe, swept the Colts this previous year. But that's not the point of the conversation. The point here is the Houston Texans have added extra depth to the linebacker spot, and they continue to improve this defense. And the ultimate conversation I am about to have with a lot of Texans fans is not just to believe, but there is no more belief about this defense. Everything about this defense is definitely substantial. It is absolutely one of the best defenses in football on paper. And we know statistically this previous year, the Texans took a big step in their defensive improvements. 2 years ago, we saw the improvements immediately with D'Amico Ryans adding Will Anderson as well as many veterans to the defense. But then this previous year, adding a big fish name like Daniel Hunter, you add somebody that is a key cog in Azeez Al-Shaair and what he did to this defense, the improvements of Derek Stingley, adding a damn good rookie in Kamari Lassiter, as well as some other moves. Then the Houston Texans made some drastic improvements last year that have now going into this year. You are refining the key nuances of this defense. And ultimately, the conversation is the Houston Texans, who we already thought had a Super Bowl caliber defense last year. It is no longer a thought. The Houston Texans legitimately have themselves a Super Bowl caliber defense. It is not because of the addition of EJ Speed. I am not going to hype up a depth linebacker that is ultimately LB3 or 4 on the depth chart. I still have a problem seeing how he's going to take away snaps from Henry T and Christian Harris unless injuries do happen. But EJ Speed does provide a lot for you in the special teams department and in sub-package roles where he can be a linebacker and even help you in against a run. Somebody like Devin White was for the Texans late last year. EJ Speed is a super version of that. So the Houston Texans definitely got themselves someone there. 1 year, $5 million in EJ Speed. You know you got Derek Stingley. You got the second year of Kamari Lassiter thrown in there. You got the hopeful improvement of Kalen Bullock, who had himself 5 interceptions thrown in there. Jimmy Ward is still on this team, but you added to the safety group in trading for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, one of the best safeties arguably in this league in terms of playmaking ability. There is not many better. In his 2 years with the Philadelphia Eagles, 12 total interceptions. The secondary sounds legit. You also add Ronald Darby to that group as well, who can start for you in a pinch if injury happens. The Texans, again, added to the linebacker room of EJ Speed and the already aforementioned Henry T, Azeez Al-Shaair. Hopefully, a healthy Christian Harris. We all know how bad that dude is whenever he is healthy. The defensive line group, need I say more? Will Anderson Jr., Daniel Hunter. You added Darrell Taylor from the Seattle Seahawks, formerly from the Chicago Bears. You got Derek Barnett back. You got back Sheldon Rankins. This defense, which was categorically, I would say, a top 10 defense in the NFL last year. When you look at everything summed up for the whole of its parts, the Texans were a top 10 defense and maybe etching themselves into the top 5 category. It is hard for me to disagree. The Houston Texans are not one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they have to be categorically, statistically, the top 5 defenses in the NFL, and they should pride themselves to being number 1. D'Amico Ryans has done so much to this defense. If there's injuries, you have a backup right there to play, and a backup that is suitable enough to be a starter elsewhere. Jimmy Ward, who is presumably being a backup now with the addition of CJ Gardner-Johnson, you got Kalen Bullock back there as well. Jimmy Ward can start anywhere, and he is somebody that you can fill in every once in a while. You still have Jalen Petrie as well. The linebackers I mentioned, if someone gets hurt, oh well. You have EJ Speed. The defensive ends, it will needs to take a few snaps off for Daniel Hunter. It doesn't stop with Derek Barnett and Darrell Taylor. This team is absolutely loaded. And this is one of the better defenses in the NFL for all of those mentioned reasons before. The Houston Texans, though, in order to really supplement themselves into the top 3 category, Texans fans not like this, but a defensive tackle at 25 is something the Texans should not be afraid to pull the trigger for. A defensive tackle like Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss would fit perfectly with D'Amico Ryans and could be the final step into ultimately landing this defense into one of the best defenses in the NFL. Sure, you got a rotational defensive tackle group. You do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we do know in order to really implement that 2 feet landing forward, the Texans are the best defense in the NFL. You go get greedy this draft and get you one of the best defensive tackles in this draft and Walter Nolan. And now you are transcending this defense from not just the top 5 category, but again, the best defense in football. And that is something that you want to put yourself in the conversation in. You already are in there, but make sure that you are legitimately the best defense. It is a conversation that Texans fans definitely do not like, considering O-line and wide receiver and the needs that we have there. But again, you still have 4 picks within the top 100, and you have plenty of time to address those needs. And hell, if you're really in a pinch, you could still grab one of those veteran wide receivers that are available in the free agency market. Y'all let me know, is the Houston Texans a Super Bowl caliber defense? And do you think defensive tackle is a far-fetched idea at number 25? Y'all agree or disagree with me in the comments section? You know I'll reply. As always, guys, go Astros, go Rockets, go Texans. You have a blessed day.